Okay. Hello, guys. So, welcome on board. I think as we are live now, we will just wait a few moments. We will start.
Yeah,
Just want
we
to
had
sure
some
that everything is
technical
working.
delays.
Now I think everything's working right now. Okay, cool, guys. Amazing to that you have joined us today. So just before we get started, we will wait. As I said, wait a couple more of seconds for all the registered participants, and one entertaining questions just before that. Are you seeing us and hearing us correctly? Just write in the chat section, and we'll test it if everything is working. Hey. Anyone? Hello. Cool. All is fine. Amazing. Thank you, guys. So remember to click and subscribe our Executive Automats YouTube channel. And well, I'm Rafał Najszewski, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar, Dynamics 365 Smoke Test, Sanity Test to keep your environment healthy. I'm glad that you have joined us. A couple housekeeping things. As usual, we are doing that. If you will have any questions during the webinar, I think something will be very interesting and you want to address some questions, feel free to use the chat section, which we have tested a bit right now, so it's working. So don't be afraid to ask any questions you want. Also, we are recording the session, and we will send a link to the recording to the email address which you have registered with. So, okay, moving forward to today's webinar agenda. Oh, no, one more thing which I should mention before. Together with me is Bart, but you can meet us in person, if you may, Bart, share where exactly during the summit.
Yeah, indeed, and this is a very nice pleasure and an occasion to have a quick chat on site.
Yeah.
We're going to visit on, I think this is the 23rd of May in Portorož in Slovenia,
Yeah, exactly.
in south part of the Europe. We're going to be there for 3 days. We're going to be there on this Dynamics Mind event. This is, I think, one of the first events which are happening
After the
after
COVID, pandemic.
exactly when AXUG Barcelona stopped. Now we've got that new event, and we are very excited that there is one new event happening in Europe on kind of a big scope. So feel free to jump in. We have also some discounts available as sponsors of this event. So if somebody from the audience would be interested in jumping in to Slovenia to visit us, to see the all kinds of sessions, who's going to be hosted there, this is going to be a nice event. And I'm actually, this is going to be an interesting event because the Portorož is a seaside city with beautiful views and good wine. So I think we can enjoy not only sessions but also pretty nice evenings afterwards.
So, guys, if you want, just join us there. There will be a lot of good, I would say, stuff for all the people who are connecting with, connected, I would say, businessly connected with Dynamics environment. So go ahead and meet us in person there. Okay, now I think we can move forward to today's webinar agenda. So firstly, we will tell you guys how to plan the testing to survive one version approach. Secondly, we'll answer to the question where to execute the test cases and why there are so many environments. After that, how to utilize those findings and results in and use them in Azure Devops. Yeah, this is usually the most used platform to maintain and manage the testing. How to communicate with stakeholders and deliver the testing trackability. And last but not least, the live question and answer session. And usually we are doing the introduction. So today with us, Bart, as you already mentioned, Bartosz Piech, our product manager, head of our executive automat security setup framework. So Bart, the stage is yours. I'm following to the next slide. Yeah. So you can
Thank you
take
so
it from
much, Raf, for the introduction. Always happy to have a session with you. Yeah, and today this is actually something we are developing for quite a while, and soon everything what we are talking about through the webinars you're going to see in hard book copy of our testing methodology, which we want to build as much universal as it's possible to use globally, not actually thinking about executive automats as a tool, but thinking about the finance and operations as application, how to test it, the approaches, and then best practices, because we believe and we see that the ERP systems, after all, are kind of a gap on the testing space, and they are very often misunderstood, and people are making them kind of a hard to do, hard to test. So they want to find out, create for you a nice base ground which you can utilize, and simply saying, use this framework to increase the assurance, increase the stability of your ERP system, in that case, finance and operations. But we think that most of these approaches, they can be also utilized in other ERP platforms. So finance and operations has this so-called one version pace. You can visit the Microsoft website to see how the pace evolves, how many updates you have to apply for your finance and operations or finance and supply chain management. You can see that within a year you are obligated to deploy these three versions. And thinking about those testing and the pace that you have 3 updates in a year, comparing to Exapta or all their older AXs, you will see that before, when we were updating on 2012, some cumulative updates, once for a 2-year cycle, 3-year cycle, we've been kind of in predictable way. We've been able to manage that. Now with the one version pace and 3 updates, the amount of testing is so significant that typical business users, which are mostly involved in testing, they are not capable of handling this huge load of tests, which you have to do in a short time. So you have to find out solution. Microsoft decided that they're going to build their own software, and they built RSAT. Now, as RSAT is kind of pushed away a bit, as Microsoft is kind of sharing that they will not evolve so much with with the RSATs. So this won't be as everybody wanted to be, as kind of a very useful tool. Now people are searching for another solutions. In example, executive automats, and you have to set up some game plan for this continuous testing. And there are actually nice 2 approaches that you can try to deploy on your site, which is so-called smoke tests or sanity check, sanity test. Those 2 naming conventions can be used kind of the same way. In ISTQB methodology, they have some differences, but in here you can just simplify that and treat them quite equally. But the overall idea is that you think about your dynamics, you pick up a bunch of basic tests you do, some basic coverage, some core business processes that you have in your organization, and you pack it in that smoke test plan, sanity test plan, and you execute them on daily or weekly basis. Thanks to execution on weekly or daily basis, you are able to maintain one place where you see the status, the health check, how your system evolves, how it performs. So you can ask why we do testing weekly, and actually we are deploying new versions of the code or updates in a monthly basis. What is the purpose of running so much tests? Just because the environment lives and it number of transactions is increasing and increasing, and you are keeping open journals, you are creating open corrections, you are making some correction journals, new pricing sheets, and so on, new BOMs. bill of materials, new products, and sometimes these bugs are happening not on that streamline or just a simple tests, but they come after. They come after a number of approaches or a number of things which normally are not happening, but they might happen in production. The pack of this smoke tests, they are in idea or in the approach, they are easy to maintain. So we have to, or we want to automate something which will be cheap for later on reusable process. So we will not spend hours and hours for maintenance of these processes. Maximum 10% of the time that we've spent on the production of these test cases should be spent over a year cycle. That's kind of ideal scenario. So the smoke test is something which is very useful. You can run very quickly, and it gives you also a feeling how it works. There is another kind of a tool, which is so-called regression plan, which is much more robust. It's complex. It's big. It can consist hundreds, sometimes even over 1,000 test cases. But this needs data prerequisites. This needs some orchestration. This needs some cleanup. This needs maybe even a dedicated environment. I mean, mostly dedicated environment. And this is more costful solution. But of course, always recommended to perform these activities once before, definitely before go live. And also we can perform that before every update or before every significant rollout that you are performing. They are not exactly this major topic for discussion today, but you can be aware that these two major tools you can outline as those which we want to use for day-by-day testing. This is a typical schema which we've built in Miro, and you can have a feeling how actually over a year cycle it works like. Moving along to another part of our today's webinar, where to execute test cases and why there are so many environments. So, as mentioned in the regression testing, very often it has its own environment, but the sanity check or smoke test can be utilized practically on most cases, on build environments, on the dev environments, on the regression or release environments. More environments you've got, of course, it is more expensive to maintain them, but it gives you better understanding of the stability of the environments, and less people are making mistakes due to some parallel projects which are done. So it might be quite essential to split up the responsibilities, to split up the environment, so people are working in comfortable environments, so they are able to bring you one understandable message if system works or not. And from this graph, how the flow goes from development through test through acceptance of the users if system works, and then going to the regression and the end release. The release is one of the important element. Release is the place where we've got the most valid version of the system, which is soon to be production, where we have all functionalities after sign off from the users. It might be whole layer of the functionalities, but it can be also a cherry picking functionality. So this means that if you plan the full scope of your layer, and you've planned the full scope of functionalities to be delivered on the release, but since the scope was so big that we were not able to accomplish the full one, but we were accomplishing just a part of it, you are able to cherry pick, which means pack it and send it to the release, and release just this specific one cherry. Thanks to that, you are able to deliver project in smaller portions and just keep the ball rolling. And thanks to that, you've got the production and business user happy because they receive what they wanted, and those functionalities which were not signed off by the UATs, they will just stay until they are ready to continue further. This a little bit shortly, but moving along to utilize results, findings, and how to use them in DevOps. So typically, after each smoke test or regression, test manager should validate the results and find out start the triage if something happens. The triage is as in the war zone, wartime, we are trying to heal those wounds. We just want to find out what happened and selectively pick, we have a bug and we have to escalate. What is that? The bug is about configuration, one version, SQL hardware problems. We have the test manager has to communicate with accordingly to responsibilities, the RACI matrix, who to talk to understand what happened, and then build a necessary artifact, which will be a task, bug, issue on the DevOps side, and then they are able to they are able to continue the flow, and the second team starts to analyze where are the roots, what is the reason why this bug happened, and then react, then retest, find out the fault fix, deploy. So findings can be selectively, which means that test manager can make the decision and simply create this on their own, or automatically they can be converted from the bugs to DevOps in the meantime. So you can set up some automatic rules. So if something happens, automatically system can create bugs. It is a positive way. It is kind of a shortcut, but you have to be very proactive, and you have to make sure that you don't have any duplicates on the system, because if you run twice one script with errors, you will have twice as much as you can expect bugs in the system, which you have to then clean up if needed. So test manager or tester should remember about communication, which test case should be excluded from further execution. So let's visualize the whole smoke test. You've got 80 test cases. If one of those test cases fail, you have to react. You have to pick it out of that scope to not test it anymore, because we know it failed. So we can continue on 79 test cases. The ball still rolls, but on the side, on the back end, somebody is just watching from all angles what happened on that specific test case, and they build hotfix. When the hotfix is ready, they are testing it. So this is a very nice thing to remember, that you are not only benefiting from re-execution of the tests for checking the health, but also when developer works on situation to recreate, understand the error messages, the problems, they are able to re-execute the test case. So there is no need for developer to understand this in very complex way, the context. They can just play back the test case over and over to see if it works. If yes, then they can say to the test manager, I've got a hotfix, I've got a test case, you can just test with whole package. If there is no regression happening around that, which means the hotfix didn't broke those 80 test cases which are just rolling. So simple approach, simple stuff, but this needs a process. Unless we are setting up the process, it might get confused. You can get confused by that. And in the meantime, just please, guys, if you have any questions, if something was not understandable, feel free to write down questions on chat, so we'll be able to follow up those questions on Q&A, or it will give us some natural flow for this presentation throughout to the end. So going to the fourth point in DevOps, not yet, Raf. Going to the fourth point in DevOps, full communication can be registered and enables the program manager to see how project handles the issues. This means that the DevOps is one place where we see the communication, where we see how people are talking, how the problem was solved. You will see that on example when we're going to just open in a moment DevOps. But DevOps is a one nice piece of machinery where you'll be able to benefit from sort of engaging everybody from the stakeholders, and make sure that everybody understands where we are with the current updating. And now moving along to the next slide, how to communicate with stakeholders and delivering the testing trackability. I'll jump into actual DevOps to show you our example of backlog. So let me share this slide. Okay, so on the screen you will see now the backlog, which contains just the basic testing idea. So in DevOps, we've got our own area, which is called testing methodology sample. And you've got an epic, which summarizes all testing activities over 2023. We've got our sanity check, which is divided by quarters, just because we want to make some ROI calculation. We want to understand how system behaved within the sanity check going on through Q1, Q2, Q3, and so on. And this gives you actual trackability, which means if within the sanity check from the Q1 we found number of bugs, in that case we've got configuration issues with product order credit limit, a purchase order credit limit, we see a bug here, and underneath a developer and consultant, they created their own tasks where they can do timesheets, so they can reduce the time spent on the fixing it. And in here, on that specific bug, everybody can communicate. So those information which are coming from the system, they can be extended by the discussion. So everything from consultants, business area owners, they can work here and they can communicate. So we are able to track down everything what happened about this bug. And in the Q3 or Q4, when we know that something happened, we are able to track back what exactly was the solution and how we worked around these specific error messages. So after a run from the Q1, you will see multiple bugs here which are identified. You will also be able to feel the changes and the quality, how the updates are influencing your stability of the system. From the regression testing, this is the same, but they are, as mentioned, they are bigger. They are more rarely executed, just for those major situations, comparing to those ongoing sanity checks. But the same, you've got everything here, starting from bugs which are happening on the system, and then tasks which are aggregating the work from different departments, developments, developers, consultants, and so on. And so on. Regarding the trackability and the progress report, which is one of the essential elements, as you may know, in the system you can define configurations, which you can map with also with the testing. In testing, I mean with the sanity check or regressions. So when you are executing the test case and you're going to build your configuration, this profiles the results. And considering that you execute daily your system sanity check, you will see how it progresses. If you increase number of test cases, you see that we've got 4 to 5 passed, 2 fails, and we are able to analyze what system exactly did over the time. So this builds you the progression, the trend. What is the health status? Everybody from the stakeholders can jump in here and they can see how many test cases, where they are from, O2C. They are able to go to runs and they are able to see even more in detail what happened on the regression package. And they can see here the test results in details, which test case was executed, how much time it needed. This is all automatic. So the whole work from the user perspective is done on the testing tool, on the executive automats, but they use the DevOps to work with developers, consultants, ISVs, with stakeholders and business area owners. So they see here results and they can understand and feel how the system performs, how it simply works day by day. And of course, there are more reports you can create. In here, you can take the results from regression testing, combining test automation and manual test cases. So this progress report can be very effective for for combinations of bigger project, of the bigger testing project. If you're gonna have any more questions regarding that, we can follow back to this part a little bit later on. But now I would like to come back for a second to the PowerPoint presentation. So let me just switch back. Raf, if you can switch back to the presentation. Thank you. So on the next slide, we've got something which is interesting and which you might not be aware of, that something like quality updates exists. So on the first slide, we've got kind of a 3 updates per year, and now in January 21st of 2023, there is a onboarding of proactive quality updates, which means that system proactively by Microsoft is updated on a monthly basis, and there are changes done to the system as well. And customers are notified at least 5 days before the proactive quality update is applied to the environment, which creates this whole quality updates complicates that even more. And since it is January 21st, you are actually already on that train where we have to keep up with the pace and consider that we have to have something which is ongoing, which is cheap and tests our core business. That's why, aside of that, might not do updates and changes to the code of the system on a monthly, on a weekly basis. The system is changing, so we have to test it, unless we want to someday wake up and see that there are production bugs which are costing a fortune. So the smoke test activities and continuous retesting of a core pack of the process in the system might be the way how you can leverage the test automation tool and just gain continuously benefits of having this automation ready. We've seen instances where customers are executing 20,000 test cases per year, even outreaching to 300,000 test cases per year, which actually makes this quite big. So you can visit the site regarding the quality updates. There is whole schedule, how it looks like from the perspective of the availability of the updates. I think I will show the screen once again for the next slide, where we're gonna show you the system quickly. But I think, Raf, you can switch back to the next slide and invite.
Yeah. Before that, guys, we are create like Pat said, we had the knowledge, we have the ability to share this knowledge, and we are creating the testing methodology hard copy and ebook for you guys to share everything which you have already seen. I mean, more even of that, because during this 10-year, I would say 11-year, because 11 years is like 11-year anniversary of the executive autonomous on the market, we have discovered that our clients usually know the approach, but the devil is in the details. So we want to share it. We want to give you the ability. So please share. I would say please subscribe our YouTube channel. There will be information when the testing methodology hard copy and ebook will be available to download or to buy yourself or the book itself. Also, please follow us in LinkedIn accounts, and there will also be information about how and when you can reserve yourself such a book. Yeah. So we'll jump right now to the executive automats. Am I right, Bart?
Exactly. I will just show quickly the schedule of the releases, because I see one of the questions on the chat, which can be quite beneficial.
Okay, cool. So maybe I will show this question. QA updates if you are on 31 update onwards, I believe. So Now I'm share your screen, but
Thank you. So as you see here, actually the quality update started in update 30, which actually means December 16, which kinds of is not clear regarding the first information which we see on the beginning of the site, but Microsoft states that first quality updates they are already completed and they are in progress with more which are planned up to April 7 to update 37. So we're gonna leave this link in the presentation. If you're gonna be interested, you can also Google it. But this gives you more feeling how intense the schedule of changes is. Yeah. And as Rafa was mentioning, let's jump into the executive automates. And I want to show you a few concepts and give you an understanding of what exactly it is, how you can use it, and for whom this application is. And the executive automates, which you see on the screen, this is actually one of our presentation environments. This is hosted aside of Dynamics, so you don't have any need for installation on any components of your Dynamics. It is purely standing aside. And the main goal of Executive Automates is enable you or a business user to record test case. And person with more experience, a super user of Executive Automates, you can become Executive Automate super user even within our certification program, which starts in April. I think Rafa will mention a little bit more about that later on. But the idea is that within one, maximum 2 days, you are able to possess the knowledge how to make a reusable test cases. And when you are able to record a test case in here scripts, they are standing for test cases in the environment. You can see quite a lot of them. All these test cases are possible for re-execution, and you can simply build out of that the smoke test package. The tests in which you see in here, they can be used for testing, but they can also do performance testing activities. So you can stretch the limit the system to see how it works under the stress, under the hundreds of transactions in the same moment. And you are able also to understand what kind of permissions are needed to perform these activities. I'm talking a little bit about side products that we have in the executive automate suites, but the general idea is that we want to address most of the common issues that you've got with Dynamics, starting from tests, going to stability and the security layer. Let me show you how you are able to record a sample test case. If you're going to go to the projects, a project is nothing else as aggregation level. So if you think about how you can group your test cases, where you can place them to later on easier find them, you are able to build your aggregation level based on the business areas or modules or work streams, and then call the process by its name. And we're going to use our sandbox for recording. And as you may see, I'm not using any login credentials. Everything is done by the system. So the business user comes here with a focus, how I will record my test case. I don't want to do anything else. I want to pass information, how to perform free text invoice activities in Dynamics. So they go here, they click record, and they just navigate. The system listens carefully to what is done on the Dynamics side, and every value that you select, every value that you're going to type in here can be changed. So you are able to record test case for customer from South Africa, and then record it and change that afterwards to German customer or Finnish customer, and then play it back once again. Or you can extend that by some Excel files, by some advanced codes, which means you can work with REST APIs, you can do the old data requests, so you can do some coding here and make your test even more robust. This opens door for developers so they can write quite a bit here If you have your ChatGPT subscription, even without developer skills, that you are able to write in here some extensions by natural language, and make your testing hyper intelligent. By picker, as I was mentioning, you can define Excel files. So simply saying, build your Excel file with your reusable data like entity ID, name for the customer, some transaction values, some VATs, and then you can run one transaction against your multiple entities. If you're going to do record a test case where unique data inputs are important, like sequences for invoice ID or product receipt ID, you can use our number sequences from the system, which means that every execution increases the value and your test case can repeat itself hundreds of times and deliver much more value. Now, if I don't want to do any changes, just I want to post the invoice that we just created together, I can do that. And when everything is ready, I'll be able to finish my recording. So that's how easy it is to record a test case. You can, of course, place some comments in some places where test case has some critical decisions to make. So then the documentation which can be extracted from this specific test case can be a beneficial byproduct, which you can use for training sessions or a proof that you've done the test on that day with those results. Industries like life science, aviation, military, they are benefiting from those proofs and multiple other functionalities that we developed for our side product for those highly audited industries. So we've done the test case. I can simply switch back to the player and observe how system works. I see here a double click, so I can quickly deactivate or erase one step which will be not important. And then I can switch back to the player and see how system goes on. As simple as it sounds. System gives you the status on the right-hand side, delivering idea how we went through the process. If it is succeeding of their error messages, they're gonna be catched. You can observe that. You can also switch back to the background execution. You can execute the whole process in background. So there will be no need for any time spent of observing the system. You'll be able to benefit from the real background execution, headless execution. So you run Saturday night, you just enjoy your free time over the weekend, and then do your passion. And Monday morning, you can just benefit from test cases, which can give you the feeling of the system health. So now we see execution. You are able to see the history of the execution with understanding step by step how it went through. And as I was mentioning, you are able to extract that to documentation. This test case, which is recorded, can be then part of our regression plan, which means the scheduler is our planner, and the regression package consists now 27 test cases. I can just add my new test case, which was recorded, to the package, save it, and now the test case, the smoke test, is extended. Now I can tell the system, all right, today, now is 4 p.m., 4:45, we're going to run once again the same package as we did, but with that extra test case. The test cases results, we're going to go to the DevOps. We'll be able to see the progression. The history then is also aggregated, so I see successes of each test case which was executed. I see what accounts was used for the execution, so there is much more detail you can observe. As you may see, the system is quite comprehensive. It has a lot of functionalities that we could talk probably for hours here, but to make it simple today, we just want to give you a glimpse and an understanding what this is about, what value you can get, and feel free to reach out to Raf or Simon after this session so they can book you more in detail demo of the product, where you can see the integration of DevOps, you can see the security part of it, the performance part of it, and multiple other things we do. An executive automats team with a huge passion for over 11 years till now. It kind of beats sometimes where we think about how long it took, but is always nice to see the past, how we achieved so far with multiple clients across the globe, practically on each continent. Raf, I think this is the perfect moment for you to take over the stage, and if there will be anything from the Q&A, I'll be more than happy to help answering the question.
Yeah, Bart, thank you for that. Guys, now we are flowing into the question and answers. But firstly, what I want to share with you, because you have seen the app which Bart has been showing, so the executive automats. And as the Bart mentioned quickly just before the presentation, we are rising a free certification wave of our tool. What does it mean? It means that you will have a chance to reserve yourself a free certificate, which usually is let's say paid certification process, and this link to the certification will be just shared with millions on the chat section. You should already visit. It should be already visible for you guys. So go ahead, book yourself the free certification program. I would say seat. And yeah, you will be able to use the app. You will have the task to be done and a kind of the exam, which after that you will receive a certificate which you will be able to place on your LinkedIn page, etc. This is very good in terms of gathering more knowledge about the test automation. And also, it's very recognizable by the organizations which we are working with. So please remember about that. As we are here on 11 years in the market, people are knowing the executive automat. So yeah, this is quite worthwhile to do that. Okay, now a question answer session. I see that we have 2 questions. Maybe first you will go to Flavia Constanza. Question: does the tool correctly recall the test case also when using the custom fields and for custom functionalities? Yes. Generally, yes.
Sure. Everything what happens in Dynamics, finance and operations, ISV modules, your modules, modifications, everything which is Dynamics, with probably exception of drag and drop, which sometimes is kind of unpredictable. And drag and drop, I mean, there are some ISVs which are using drag and drop over some elements, but you can't describe where you drag and where you drop the element. This is kind of causing some problems, but we have some workarounds for some ISVs. But rather than that, everything what is in Dynamics can be recorded, played back, planned, and documented.
Exactly. And now, thank you, Bart. Another question from Alok Yoshi. Sorry if I mispronounced your surname. Do we have the EA tool available for both on-prem and cloud implementations of finance operation? That's correct. Yes, we have basically the tools are. Sorry, Bart, can I answer?
Go ahead.
Because this is quite a typical question which is addressed by the clients during the presentations of the tool. And yes, we have both delivery models, like a software as a service model and on-prem. So basically, the user experience is the same, but the app itself will be accessible via your internal network in terms of the on-prem installation. We have just the next question, and I will just share that. Your website notes that your tool supports basic SSRS report testing, but RSAT doesn't. Can you go into that a little bit?
Sure, Sean. Thank you so much for the question. So yes, indeed, we've been able to extract a little bit from the SSRSs, and typically we understand the typical error messages are happening before the report shows up, but that's quite obvious. And this is something you are able to do. RSAT sometimes fails because it doesn't go to it. And secondly, when we have report open and when you see specific value and you are able to make it repetitive, you are able to select a specific field or specific part of the form and try to do inspection, which means you are able to save data from it and try to compare it afterwards to expected value. This is something we are doing for one of the customers, and we see it worked quite well for them. So I think, Sean, this might be quite interesting for you to test it out on your site, how it works. But since we are on the website and the SSRSs also are shown as on the system preview, we are able to do some basic validation of it. Of course, we can't make an anchor on the report where we have a specific value which is dynamic when it goes up and down depending on number of rows. But when you are able to kind of have it constant, even though it's kind of also auto-generated, you are able to do some basic validations. But it is good to take a look on your own session how it works. And a good question by now.
Thank you, Sean. Another question, Bot. Can the system automatically handle updates of the UI, or do we need to recreate the test? Microsoft is doing the D365 Finance operations UR refresh this year.
Yeah, Microsoft is doing that continuously, even though you don't see that so much. It is in the background. They are changing IDs, names. They are changing a lot of labels in the background, the structure of divs. That's kind of a madness. Most of the test automation tool, they have problem with ERP system testing because of those obstacles. What is our strategy on that? Every release by Microsoft is firstly tested by us on our Contosa environments, on our predefined environments, to see some changes, and we are applying them to our rules and methods, which are helping with re-execution of the test cases. This means that your test cases that you recorded with our update, they are enhanced to be compatible with the system. But this is just one part. Our test execution and the mechanism, which is identifying this specific button, what it is, how to click it, it has 6 independent methods how to find out how to find out it. And I could say this is kind of artificial intelligence AI, but this is more like repetitive. This is more like a systematic learning of the system. Some companies already are calling this AI, but I don't think that we should. Anybody should, unless you are using ChatGPT. But it is kind of intelligent mechanism which doesn't work only in XPaths. This is a mechanism which keeps your test cases very secure. And to give you also understanding, we have customers where they build their test cases on upgrade 46, 45, 44, even through the new grid controls. This was the massive change of the user interface back in update 44, I think, or update 43 introduced. And they are still using the same test cases with slight changes, but there was no rewrite of whole number of test cases, which happen on most of the tools. I hope I responded exactly how you expected, or explained in the way that it was understandable.
Yeah, in overall, yes, it should work. Just like that. Cool. You're welcome. I'll just respond to the chat sentence. Sorry, guys. Okay, so another question. I'll just share right now that can EA can be used for SSRS regression testing? If yes, then how does it compare the SRS report and shows the difference? Oh,
I think we've answered part of the question from Sean was covering that, but Can it also do compare images on the SSRS report, if any? This last part is something which definitely we don't do because we don't have the OCR embedded in the system yet. We might have in the future. So we don't do the image comparison, but we worked with application called Kofax, which is the OCR. And if you are using something like that, there might be a possibility to utilize some third parties to do analysis. But yeah, there are some workarounds how you can do SSR report testing in case of its data that you were expecting, or some calculations. But we don't do the image recognition as it is kind of a it needs the OCR, which we don't have now. Thank you for the question. I will move forward to another one if I'm going to see one here. I see also that I don't have too much of rights here. Yeah, Rafa was the
Yeah,
admin
guys.
for.
Unfortunately,
Ah,
something has happened with my camera, so that's why we are not. As you can see, this is the live show, so sometimes issues are
it
happening.
happens.
So sorry for that. Guys, what I can see that as we're having more questions here, I think we have addressed all of them.
Yep.
Bart, what is worth mentioning here is that no, there's another one. I will just share it right now on the screen. Is a Power App has been embedded into the D365 page. Does your tool handle this?
In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. It depends on what kind of Power Apps application was embedded. But so the most of the IP, the most of the value we deliver, it works in finance and operations, and this is the biggest thing we want to give to the customers. If you want, you can outreach to another sites, to any other website which simply exists, but it works as it is, which means we are not delivering the full stability on other applications, but there is high chance you are able to do part or even a lot of work on the endpoints. So you are able to record test cases on DFO and jump out somewhere because it is website. It is a web-based testing. So you can define your finance and operation address, but also you can do some tests on your web shop in the part of it. As mentioned, the whole development, everything what we do on the R&D side focuses on understanding and building intelligent mechanisms to work with finance and operations. We hope later we'll be able to do more power apps and applications which are more custom, but this is not the scope for now. The April is the month where we release customer engagement package, customer engagement dynamic C or old CRM for Microsoft, where we're gonna improve a lot the way how we work with customer engagement. So if somebody wants to go with our sort of early bird program and see how executive automate for CE works, highly invited. Feel invited to do that test because this is very beneficial to see how much we are able to do in C. Also, the other parts, as I mentioned, the security and performance is always a big topic. We have the independent webinars focused on them, so feel free to talk about that. I don't see any more questions on the chat,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
maybe they are, but
yeah. I'm just checking right now that we don't have any more questions. So, guys, any amazing session. Thank you for those questions. Thank you, guys.
and look forward to see you in Slovenia
Exactly.
or Charlotte. We're going to be in Charlotte in October as
Also
well.
in the North
So
America
these are
side.
two
That's great.
sessions which we're going to be hosting definitely there, and hopefully maybe not this year because it is already closed. There is a session in Asia. Hopefully, we'll be able to participate in. I think it was Taiwan Dynamics community. We'll
I
see.
think so. Yeah, as I remember, yes. Guys, we also have shared the link to for quick call meeting with me So if you have any questions during about our app or our testing methodology or how you should approach the smoke test and sanity test, book yourself up a meeting with me, and I will jump into the details how we can help and support you in this matter. Amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
great
Stay safe
evening
and
and
have a
day
great,
ahead.
great evening. Cheers.
Cheers.